Live from the Business RadioX studio inside Renaissance Bank, the bank that specializes in understanding you. It's time for North Fulton Business Radio.
And hello again, everyone. Welcome to another edition of North Fulton Business Radio. I'm John Ray, and folks, we are broadcasting live from inside Renaissance Bank on Windward Parkway in beautiful Alpharetta. Did you know that Renaissance Bank is voted the best bank in Georgia? That's not my opinion. That's what Forbes magazine says. And I think the reason they say that is part of it is people have the experience that I think I've had, which is that Renaissance is big enough to handle pretty much any need you can throw at them, but small enough to do it in a personal way. So if you're a small, medium-sized business needs a better experience banking-wise, give Renaissance Bank a try. Go to renaissancebank.com, find their local office, and give them a call. I think you'll be glad you did. Renaissance Bank, understanding you, member FDIC. And now I want to welcome Molly Welch. Molly is with A Second Later. Molly, welcome.
Thank you.
It's a pleasure to have you. Let's talk about you and A Second Later. How are you serving folks out there?
Well, I was in a head-on collision with a pickup truck, and it was all due to distracted driving. So I founded a 501c3 motivational speaking company where I go and try to educate others on the dangers of distracted driving.
Terrific. Now, this accident occurred when, Molly?
In 2008.
Okay. And you were a student at Auburn at the time?
I was a junior.
Junior at Auburn. Okay. And obviously you must have a tremendous will, is all I can say, because you had quite a rehab that you had to go through. You had traumatic brain injury, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Talk a little bit about that and what that was like.
I had diffuse axonal injury. That's where your brain shears or tears. And my right side was completely paralyzed due to the brain damage, because the pathways were broken off in the brain. And
gotcha. And when you say distracted driving, that means a lot of different things. In your case, what were you doing?
I was listening back to a tape recorder because I was a journalism major. And I mean, it was one of those little handheld recorders from back in the day. Mm-hmm.
Okay. Back in the day, that's like my time. Okay. I didn't know there was a back in the day for you. You're a lot younger than I am, but so distracted driving can be something like what you describe. Most often we think about it as being texting and driving, right?
Yes, but the funny thing is that the entire accident was recorded on tape, and that's why I think I was distracted driving, because like everything from the country song I was listening to the sound of this gentleman saying, "Help us on the way," to the sounds of the sirens and paramedics.
Wow. So you went through an extensive rehabilitation to get to a point where you had a decision to make on what you wanted to do with your life. So why, what made you passionate about going the way you've gone and starting a 501c3?
Well, I was with a small company working part-time after I graduated from Auburn, and it was behind a cubicle all day, and I just had to get out and warn others about this problem because I'm still affected by it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and you formed A Second Later when? How long have you had this 501c3?
About 2016.
Okay. Okay. So about 5 years now.
Yep.
Okay. Awesome. And are you from the North Fulton area originally?
I moved here when I was 7.
Okay.
So basically,
Yeah.
but I've been in Chicago, Alabama, and Texas before.
Got it. Okay. So talk about what you do through a second later, some of your activities and how you're getting the word out about distracted driving.
Well, I do a lot of Zoom calls and networking calls, and that's how I get part of my message out. But I'm also with the Chamber of Commerce, but I also email a ton of people and just kind of try meet tons of people and get good referrals that way.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when you speak to various, and we're going to get into some of the organizations you speak to in a second, but talk about the message that you give. I mean, it may seem like an obvious question that you don't like text and drive, but talk about the way you put it into words for people.
Right. Well, I go through a bit about my recovery and how I overcame it. So basically, my message I'm trying to get through to people, especially high school students, is to not give up and continue with their dreams. And I graduated from Auburn, and so I want them to continue with their education.
So, yeah, and let's be clear on this. So this accident occurred when you were a junior, and you went on to graduate. Wow. What was that like?
It took me an extra 3 years, but I ended up graduating with my brother, my little brother, and I still beat him by 2 hours.
And he's still your little brother, right?
Yes.
Yeah, even though you graduated together. Got it. Okay, little brother, yeah. We'll shout you out, but you're still a little brother.
He helped me across the stage. So.
Oh, he did? Okay. Awesome. That's terrific. And there's a lot of folks that took 3 extra years to go to college that didn't have to deal with what you had to deal with. So that's quite a story. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah.
See, my electives I could take anywhere, so I just took them online. But my core classes I had to take at Auburn. That was super hard.
Wow. So you had to go back and forth, or is that what you did?
But the professors were so kind. They only made me go once a week instead of twice. But yeah, it was an all-day event.
Wow. So you started in North Fulton and in the morning, went down to Auburn, went to class, and then came back.
Yep.
Wow. And you've got a lot of good-hearted folks that help you get around. Yeah. We got one here in the studio today. You want to shout him out?
Arnold Vickers.
Yeah.
Hello.
He wasn't expecting to get brought into this conversation, but we're going to shout him out. So anyway.
No, I wasn't expecting to be shouted out.
Hey, well, you should be. So thank you for what you do to help Molly get the word out about what she does. And folks, we're here chatting with Molly Welch. Molly is the founder of a 501c3 called A Second Later. It literally was a second, I guess. I mean, and that's that you were distracted for a second, and people think, there's a lot that can happen in a second, I guess is the point, right?
Yeah. I mean, I was one exit from Auburn, so almost home. Just to look down for a second.
Wow. So your message is more than distracted driving. I mean, because what you just said about high school students and encouraging them to continue on regardless of what kind of circumstance they find themselves in, continue their education. That's a powerful message.
Yes. Thank you.
Yeah. So, Molly, talk a little bit about the different groups that you speak to?
Well, I speak to a lot of businesses and nonprofits and like churches, but my favorite groups to talk to are driving schools. Mm-hmm. And I talked to one throughout the summer. The only thing is, I think they got rid of driver's ed in schools due to budget cuts. Mm-hmm. So you have to go to a separate school to get the driving education.
Yeah, like privately owned schools.
Right.
But those are still schools that you're able to speak at to their classes.
Correct.
Right. And so you're also the speaking engagements that you have are not just here locally in the North Fulton area, but you've expanded across the country and beyond, right?
Well, through Zoom.
Right. Yeah. Thanks to Zoom. Okay. Talk about some of the places that groups you've spoken to outside of the North Fulton area.
Oh, gosh. I've been in many states, Connecticut, Florida, Alabama, just so many different states. And I'm hoping to reach the entire United States. I'm not positive if I want to go global and go outside the U.S., but I mean, it's a possibility. Sure,
why not, right? So, how many states have you got colored in now on the map?
I'd say about 10.
That's awesome. That's terrific. 10 and counting, right?
That's right.
I love it. So, you're looking to be able to speak to all these different groups. I know you do Rotary clubs as well, so let's throw that in there. So that's one of the things you're looking to do is be able to spread the message.
Yep.
Got it.
Because it happens every day.
Mm-hmm.
We gotta stop this.
And it's not just teenagers, right? So we have to be clear about that. This is not about just young people.
Yeah, I've talked to 5th grade to senior citizens. Mm-hmm. So I've talked in a wide gamut
of people. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So Molly, talk about the reaction that you get from. I'm just curious about what people say to you when you get done with a speech, what they say to you, and what maybe they send you notes later about the impact you've had on them.
Well, normally I get a lot of people. I've had a lot of students come up to me like in tears and hugging me because they have loved ones that have been in similar situations and weren't as fortunate as me.
Right.
But I get lots of those. I get people all the time telling me about their friends or family.
Mm-hmm. Right. So you've obviously been an inspiration to no telling how many people.
Well, I try. I want everyone who thinks about picking up a phone or doing something that would consider being distracted to envision my face. And I just want to continue to spread that.
Right. Spread that message. So what is the, what's the future look like for you? And I mean, what have you got planned over the next few years?
Well, I hopefully am going to be able to speak in many different states, not through Zoom, but flying out. And in order to do that, I need to get several surgeries, just to improve the strength of my arm and leg.
Mm-hmm.
So it makes flying a lot easier.
Mm.
But I also want to have a family, and so hopefully one day.
That's awesome. How many surgeries have you had so far?
say about 8.
Wow. And you've got several more to go.
That's right. I forgot that all the new technology that's coming out. That's what I'm hoping for. Stem cell with the right arm.
Mm-hmm.
But that's a little not quite there yet out in the public.
Right. So, do you think one of these days you might write a book about your experience?
I've got 17 pages in a journal that I've written, but I need a ghostwriter.
Yeah.
So it's just, it takes a lot of sitting down and writing, and I'm just not a huge fan of sitting.
Yeah, I get it. Well, we've maybe there's some ghostwriters out there listening that might want to be in touch, might want to help. Yeah, that would be a worthy cause for sure. So, Molly, talk a little bit about your support, I guess, because you've got. It does take a village. It takes a village for all of us in some way or another because we all get support. But talk about your village that supports you.
Well, I've got a pretty big village. Like anyone who sees me out walking will stop and try to talk to me and offer their support.
Mm-hmm.
And I've just got so many people.
Right. That's awesome. Molly Welch is with us, folks, and she is the founder of A Second Later. So Molly, you are quite an inspiration, and I think all those that know you and see you every day, I see you all the time at the North Fulton Chamber, admire you for what you've done. So thank you for being as single-minded as you are and determined as you are. See, behind that sweet face that you have, there's a determined tiger, I think, right?
That's right.
And I think that's awesome. So, because the world needs your story. So thank you for sharing that.
Of course.
Yeah. Now, I want to get to the most important question, which is, for those that have heard this interview, would like to get in touch with you and know more, how can they do that?
Well, you either go on A Second Later, all one word, .com, or you can go on my A Second Later Facebook, Twitter, or LinkedIn page.
Mm-hmm.
Contact me that way. Or you can go on A Second Later Media at gmail.com. Do get the hint? It's all a second later. Yeah, we got it. And I also get the hint that you were obviously in communications and journalism because so you've got all these social media channels, so you know how all that works. So that's awesome. So, and again, you're looking for folks that want to have you come in and do speaking engagements, and folks, if you want to make a donation, you can do that on your website, right? Okay, terrific. Molly Welch, folks, with A Second Later. Molly, this has been a treat. Thank you so much for coming in. Of course.
Hey, folks, just a quick reminder that if you are looking for a unique way to do team building work, well, here's a great way, and you never thought this was possible, to stand around in the kitchen around a table and season meat and cut up vegetables. But that's what they do over at A&S Culinary Concepts. Andrew Traub and his folks are terrific. And what they do is they have a whole corporate team building activity that they do that is great for all sorts of groups. They also have Big Green Egg boot camps, and they do corporate catering. But they're booking now in the first quarter for corporate team building. Well, first quarter and beyond, I'm sure. But just give Andrew a call, 678-336-9196. Tell Andrew that John Ray sent you, and or go to the website, asculinaryconcepts.com, to learn more. And I think you'll be glad you did. And folks, as we close the show, quick reminder, North Fulton Business Radio is on all the major podcast apps. North Fulton Business Radio is the search term. If you're not subscribed to the show, we would love it if you would subscribe and tell your friends about the show. That's how we get the word out. It's not about me or Business RadioX. Frankly, it's about our great guest, and we've had one today, Molly Welch, and we want her story and the others that we've had on this show over the last 5.5 years to be found. So if you could help in that regard, we would appreciate it. So for my guest, Molly Welch, I'm John Ray. Join us next time here on North Fulton Business Radio.